Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa. Homage to the blessed, noble, and perfectly enlightened one. Homage to the Namo Sadanto Suchedoye Allahadi Samya Samputoshe. Wu Shang Shen Shen Wei Miao Fa Bai Qian Wan Jie Nan Sao Yu. Wo Jin Jian Wan De Shou Chi Yuan Jie Ru Lai Zhen Shi Yi. Supreme and wondrous Dharma, subtle and profound, rarely is encountered even in billions of eons. But now we see and hear it and accept it reverently. May we truly understand the Buddha's actual meaning. Hey, Venerable Master, Dharma friends, welcome to our Sutra lecture tonight. Glad you're here with us. Today is Thursday, December 21st, here in the Gold Coast of Queensland. It is the solstice today, the longest day of the year. Here in the summer it's the winter solstice, which in the Southern Hemisphere is the longest day. It's in the Northern Hemisphere, today is the darkest of days, and yet at the peak of light or dark, it's the turn into the next cycle. So starting tomorrow, the days get shorter here in the Southern Hemisphere. So that's this beautiful cycle of light and dark and yin and yang. And I have to constantly shift because the winter solstice in where I come from always means maximum dark, minimum light, but the turn. And from here on, the light grows. But it's the time when every culture in the Northern Hemisphere has a holiday that talks about light. Here we go. Okay, I need get my camera, there we go. There we are. For example, Amitabha. Amitabha is limitless light, and his birthday is now. This is the time we celebrate the Buddha's birthday, and it's also the time of...
Recording in progress.
Sorry about that. There we go, one more time. This is the time of, let's see here. I need to get hold on, unshare, please. Get all my ducks in line here. Okay, so if you look around, what do we have? We have Diwali. Diwali in the Hindu world is the festival of lights. We have Christmas, everybody decorates their Christmas tree and talk about stars, special stars in the sky. And Kwanzaa and Hanukkah, all of these festivals come at a time when humanity feels the lack of sunlight. The way here's the sun, and we circle the Earth circles in our orbit, and this is the time when we're farthest away. So what we do is we kindle the light outside to keep the inner light lit. And it's also the time in the Buddhist world where, along with celebrating the festival of limitless light, Wu Liangguang, Amitabha, we also meditate. And it's a time for Chan. And our calendar, our Buddhist calendar, is always set up so a week of Buddha recitation is followed by weeks of Chan meditation. And what you do during Chan is you focus on the inner light, the way trees bring all of their sap down to the roots in the winter, and the branches are bare. There's no leaves, there's no fruit, there's no flowers, but the tree is focused down in its roots. People too, obeying the darkness at the wintertime, we focus on bringing all of our awareness down to the dantian, to our true mind. So it's very interesting how we are, let's see here, how we are celebrating we're registering the winter today at its maximum reach. This is the time of here, but it's again, as you flip it, here in Australia, it's the longest day, the maximum number of light hours. Okay. And ironically, we don't know that because it's raining outside, so it got dark early tonight. But we want to respectfully acknowledge the Kombumerri people of the Ugambe language region as traditional storytellers and custodians of the land where the monastery is located. We pay respects to their elders, past, present, and emerging, to all First Nations people whose sovereignty was never ceded. 就是说，我们恭敬地承认乌干贝语族的公布马里人是我们寺院所在地的传统叙事和守护人。我们向过去、现在和未来的长者们致敬，并且向所有未放弃主权的第一民族的原住民致敬。Moving forward, we have the Pomo people, we've got Ohlone people, different parts of California. And we come to the bell song. Bell sound wide resounds throughout 100 million worlds. The Buddha's law is heard and spread all throughout the triple world. The wondrous sounds that everywhere fill the Dharma realm with peace. May those who hear it gain the strength to follow in faith the Buddha's path. 众生传三千劫内，佛法扬万亿国中，共寻其法界和平，利益报他能厚德。Good. Okay, I'm gonna stop sharing. There we are. Okay, one of the things that my job to do during this week as the Dharma speaker is to talk about methods of practice, how to actually successfully carry on the Foqi here in the Buddha Hall. We are here in the Buddha Hall at Gold Coast Dharma Realm. We've been cultivating all week. Is tomorrow the last lecture? 明天是最后一个. Okay, right. Tomorrow's the last lecture. How do you actually do it? How do you cultivate together? It's a social event. And many people, I think, are drawn to Amitabha sessions for qi because you can cultivate together with Dharma friends. And there's something quite wonderful about walking together, sitting together, eating together, bowing together, reciting together. That also is at the time of the maximum dark, at the end of the wintertime. It's a good thing to do, to come together. So with all these people, what are we doing together? We're singing. We talked about how this is the bhakti yoga. This is the devotion side of Buddhism, where we pour out our hearts and rejoice in the compassion of Amitabha and great strength in Guanyin. So when you do that together, especially when you're singing, oops, what if the people around you are not used to singing and don't particularly have their ear tuned to how they sound, and they are off tune and scratchy voice and out of rhythm? And how do you get along, especially if that's day number 1 and you have 6 days ahead that you look forward to having somebody in your ear who can't sing? So there are definitely ways to make it work, and that's part of my job, is to talk about kind of Buddha hall etiquette, you could say. It involves bowing, it involves putting palms together, doing half bows, all the different things that we do together. And there's a way to do it that increases affliction and tension and discomfort. And there's a way to do it that increases harmony and ease and many blessings. So it's important, I think, to go through some of those best practices, we call them. And one of them has to do with not making a sound is wrong. Singing too loudly is wrong. What's the right way? In the Berkeley Monastery, we had one young man from Malaysia who had a very powerful singing voice. Oh my goodness. He was just one of those guys. He had a foghorn voice. And effortlessly, when he sang a note, he made everything vibrate around him. And he was on pitch. He had a good musical voice, but it just somehow his voice resonated. And he was kind of aware of it, but almost in an innocent way. He kind of liked the idea that this is a masculine voice, but it was just too loud. And at one point, after a couple sessions with this young man whose voice was so powerful, I pulled him aside and I said, actually, and I won't mention his name, I said, to be a skillful cultivator, you want to take every opportunity to plant blessings, feel the blessings for yourself. But if you obstruct others, at the same time you are cultivating blessings, you're also creating offenses, afflictions, because the people around you get upset. So we know that your voice is very masculine and very powerful, but it's kind of like a fire that if you go to your stove and turn the burner up to maximum, to highest heat, you can melt the pot and scorch the doujiang, and you wind up with food you don't want to eat. Whereas if you turn it back just right, then you heat the food, it's delicious, you save fuel, there's no danger, there's no trouble. And it's called skill, gong fu. I said, your voice is like that. Your voice is like a stove turned up to 10. You need to learn to bring it back so that everybody around you enjoys singing with you, and you support them because they rely on They don't have to, if they don't sing well, they can, sing a little quieter because they know you will carry the melody. And he got it. He got it right away. And from that time on, you could hear his voice kind of supporting everybody underneath. And he knew that if he was in the mountains and he wanted to make his voice heard across the valley, he could go, hello, 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 hello. You'd hear the echo. But inside a building with other people in the room, you just need to go, hello, and everybody gets benefit. So since that time, it was risky for me to criticize him. I thought he might just get offended and leave, but no, he didn't. He took it exactly in the way it was meant and pulled his voice back so that now he's kind of the anchor of the Buddha Hall whenever he's there. So that's one. We want to sing so that as our voice comes out, Namo Amitofo, Namo Amitofo, Namo Amitofo, Namo Amitofo. We can hear ourselves, and at the same time, we can hear the voices of the people to the left, to the right, behind us. That's the best. So that our voice is not dominating, but it's also not absent. And if we can, as we sing, if we can hear the voices around us, that's just right. So that's one. Now, Master Hua gave us instructions in Gold Mountain Monastery originally, and then to City of 10,000 Buddhas in every branch, including here at Gold Coast Dhammaram. He said, 你们赶快, he said, 把这个早晚课上功改到西方人会接近、西方人会听会唱的调子和仪式，赶快 he said. 反而你们做的中国梵呗做的唱的不对，根本不对，不是那样子的，他说。So he said, you now do it right away. He said, take your ceremonies, 早晚课, morning, evening chanting, and change them over to ceremonies that Westerners can hear, they can understand, and that they want to sing. They will never sing Chinese music. Furthermore, he said, the way you do Chinese fanbei, the Chinese ceremonies, is just wrong. You just don't, you never got it right. You don't do it right. You do your own weird style, he said. So Shifu was very direct about his opinion of how we did our ceremonies. And of course, to say 赶快, it's not so easy to get the ceremonies right. Because if you think about it, let's say that Mito Jing, thus I've heard at one time the Buddha dwelt at Shavasti in the Jade Grove in the garden of the benefactor of orphans and the solitary. So a ceremony, a sutra, has a melody. Da 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 dee da da dum dee 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 da 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 dee da 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 dee da 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 dum. That's a kind of a melody, pentatonic scale. Da da dee da dum dee. Those are the notes. It also has to be translated correctly. The language has to be language that people can hear. But then there's a third part, and the third part is really important too. And that third part is the sutra or the praise has to have an uplifting feeling. It has to carry the spirit up. I'll give you an example. This is our yellow ceremony book. People are familiar. Of all the BTTS publications, this is the one that is requested most often. And I'm going to look for Amitabha Praise, page 140. And here it is, right here. The Amitabha praise goes, people are familiar? Ami Topho Shan An Jin Dong. Hits the bell, right? You know how that goes. So it's very beautiful. That's hymn has been in people's ears and hearts for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years. People love it. That melody is probably a deva melody. They say that may have come down from the heavens. So if you turn then to page 142, what do you see? You see praise to Amitabha. And this is the latest version. I believe David Rounds, Guozhou Rounds, put this together. And it's an example of an attempt to follow instructions from Shifu. 你们赶快把那个改成西方人会唱, right? So it's like when it's done slowly, when it's done with reverence, it sounds okay. The translation is good. The melody is okay. It's got a funny thing at the end where it modulates to a different key. The spirit of it is that elusive third piece of a successful. Here's how it goes. Amitabha's body is the color of gold. The splendor of his hallmark has no peer. The light of his brow shines around 100 worlds. Wide as the seas are his eyes pure clear. Okay, then it goes down. When you get to the bottom, you go, homage to the Buddha of the Western Pure Land. It goes from a minor to a major. And most people can't do that. It doesn't come sounding quite right. What's the problem? The problem is when you do it quickly, it sounds, I shouldn't say it. But if you go, Amitabha's body is the color of gold, the splendor of his hallmarks has no peer. Sounds a little bit like a football song. It's anyway, so not that we do it that way. We do it with respect, and but it's not quite there because why? Ami. It's so good. The Chinese original, you know that melody came from someplace special. They say it might have been one of the patriarchs in the past entered samadhi and went to the heavens and brought it back. That's a beautiful melody. So now that's not to say that Chinese fanbei have always been the same. They change too. And one of the issues is China has so many dialects. 普通话, they now call it 普通话. It used to be called 中文 or 华语 or 国语 or 官话 or all the different names for Chinese in China. And what do you do when you have somebody from Hunan next to somebody from Fujian, and you have somebody from Hong Kong next to somebody from, Heilongjiang? They all pronounce Namo Amitofo differently. They all sing it differently. So fascinating. And when I first went to China in 1989 to Longhua in Shanghai. Now, this was a monastery that took all the different, took monks from all parts of China, because Shanghai was a big, the Fojia Xiehui was strong there. And so monks came from all over, from Yunnan, from Sichuan, from Gansu, from Hebei, from everywhere, all over China. And so I went to Zaoke as soon as I could, the first couple mornings, and I really wanted to hear, how did people recite the Buddha's name? And at CTDB in the morning, we do medicine Buddha, but the traditional way in China is you do Amitabha in the morning. So how do you suppose, with monks from all over China in line, bowing and doing Zaoke, when it comes time to recite the Buddha's name, how do they do it and stay in harmony? Can anybody imagine? They go, Nam Amitabha, Nam Amitabha, Nam Amitabha, Nam Amitabha. And they go for 20 minutes all around the Buddha hall going, Namo Amitabha. Because you have for, and you have fut, and you have hu, all the different ways of saying for, right, Buddha. And they all put it together, and everybody compromises, and they go, Namo Amitabha, Namo Amitabha. And it works. It's perfect, right? So everybody kind of gives a little bit, and nobody's wrong, nobody's right. For, foot, foot, it works. So now, with that in mind, we in the West certainly will come up with our own Amitabha praises, and probably they will be built on existing Western sacred tunes. This is a gospel. This is a hymn, a gospel called "What Are They Doing in Heaven Today?" It's it used to be called an African spiritual. That's what it was called, but now it's called gospel. So I took heaven and turned it to Pure Land, and there are more verses coming, but this is what I got so far. See what you think. I'm thinking today of some friends that I know who lived and they suffered in this world below. Well, they've gone off to rebirth, but I want to know, what are they doing there now? Oh, what are they doing in the Pure Land today, where suffering and sorrow are all done away? Namo Amitabha, they gratefully say. That's what they're doing there now. I recall all the lifetimes that I'd come and go, suffering in the Sahara, in the samsara's flow. Sleep with eyes open, I die to know, what are they doing there now? Oh, what are they doing in the Pure Land today, where suffering and sorrow are all done away? Namo Amitabha, they gratefully say. That's what they're doing. That's what they're doing. That's what they're doing there now. More to come, but that's a song in progress. Oops. This is based upon a Christian hymn, and change a few words, and the mode, the spirit is already there. We just have to bring it home. So there's another one that we did the first night, and I got some really good feedback from friends who said that sounded really good, and so I thought I would bring it back. And let's see here. Try again. Don't see. Where'd it go? Hey, I just had it up. Nope, not that one. There it is, right there. We sang this the first night, and I wanted to. This is Lonnie Bauer, and what's nice about it is it tells the whole story of the Pure Land Sutras. Don't say the Western land is somebody else's dream. Here in the suffering Saha world, things are not what they seem. But if we can learn to return the light and recite the Buddha's name a lot, then the 7 pools with their 7 jewels will appear in the space of a thought. Amitabha Buddha in a former life was a bhikshu named Fadzang. He made 48 vows, and every vow was to take living beings along to the Western land where the living's grand and the people know no pain. K-N-O-W. And don't you know that you can go if you just keep reciting his name? Of the colors of the mountains, none are not his vast long tongue. In the sparkling streams and the forest green, his compassionate song is sung. The water flows, the wind blows, whispering his name. When he takes you by the hand to this happy land, you'll be so glad you came. Right? Don't say the Western land is somebody else's dream. Here in the suffering Saha world, things are not what they seem. If you can learn to return the light and recite the Buddha's name a lot, then the 7 pools with the 7 jewels will appear in the space of a thought. Amitabha Buddha in a former life was a bhikshu named Fadzang. He made 40 vows. He made 48 vows, and every vow was to take living beings along to the Western land where the living's grand and people know no pain. And don't you know that you can go if you just keep reciting his name? Of the colors of the mountains, none are not his vast long tongue. In the sparkling streams and the forest green, his compassionate song is sung. The water flows, the wind blows, whispering his name. When he takes you by the hand to this happy land, you'll be so glad you came. Don't say the western land is somebody else's dream. Here in the suffering Saha world, things are not what they seem. If we can learn to return the light and recite the Buddha's name a lot, in the 7 pools with the 7 jewels will appear in the space of a thought. Namo Amitabha Buddha. Namo Amitabha Buddha. Namo Amitabha Buddha. Namo Amitabha. So that's not a gospel, that's a folk song. It's like a cowboy ballad. But the point is that here in the West, we have plenty of musical containers that we can adapt to the praise tradition of Amitabha. All righty. Now, let's see here. Okay. Yeah, that's right. Okay. Let's see here. What about? Let's see here. Come and go. Okay. How about this one? 定力法师阿弥陀佛说：“五根不具者，往生后会堕落。”那么年龄大了以后，耳聋眼花的不能听清楚或者看清的人，往生后会堕落吗 ？Okay, comment from last night, question, and people are welcome to ask more questions if you like. Amitabha says that people whose 5 organs are incomplete, after they're reborn, will fall. 真的吗？谁说的？ So what about elders whose ears go deaf and whose eyes grow dim? Will they also fall after rebirth? Anybody heard that? No? Anybody? Is that? I would challenge that. That doesn't sound very compassionate to me. I believe that is probably a non-dharma. And it's a useful question because, why? This is in the category of what we call 莫名其妙的规矩, right? Wonderful rules. That is to say, mostly superstition. I noticed in the Berkeley Monastery, at one point, we had an elder laywoman who that was her character. She liked to be the boss. And the way she got people's attention, she was just a normal, nice grandma. Her children had left her. She was alone. And she kind of went from branch, she went from Fo Guangshan's branch in San Francisco to Jingzong Xiehui branch, and then she came to us. I think she kind of got pushed around from place to place because she kept passing on superstition. She had lots of 莫名其妙的规矩, these marvelous rules, including things such as, did you know that if you put your stick of incense in the censer and the ash falls outside the censer, you will be split up from your family? Were you aware of that? Yes, everybody knows it. I've heard everybody say it, right? 莫名其妙的规矩. 没有这么一回事. Oh, so this sounds to me like one of those rules that if you have a physical impairment, if you're disadvantaged, that you fall. What does it mean? Dolo. What does that mean? It's like that's the key. Most of the rules that wind up with punishment or pain, that's the key. Because why? Buddha Dharma that increases affliction, the Buddha didn't teach. That's people going wrong with religion. So be suspicious when you hear about this rule. It's like, okay, Amitabha 说, unless maybe he said it somewhere else and I just haven't heard it yet. Maybe I'm the last one to know. But when I compare this to my understanding of the Buddha, this doesn't pass the test. It doesn't pass the smell test. This stinks. It smells hard and mean and punishment. And another key, as soon as you hear parts of religion that result in 下地狱, falling into hells, I go ding, 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 ding. Religious communities, East and West, of all the different religions, draw all kinds of people. Just the way, like military. In the Navy, you can find all kinds of people in the Navy. In the police force, you can find all kinds of people in the police force. In the Army, right? All kinds of people go for different reasons to religion. Not all of them wholesome. Some people come because they find it's a safe place to hide their personality flaws. And I have seen in religious communities, East and West, people who like to send others to hell. They like that power to spiritually persecute others. And who can prove it? You know, oh, really? You saw someone fall into hell? How come you got your eye on the hells? That's interesting. Maybe you have one foot there without the religion at all. Maybe that's just your character. So this kind of question strikes me as probably you can say, this is people, this is not the Buddha. And to put it in the Buddha's mouth, be careful when you put quotes in the Buddha's mouth. We had a rule at CTDB that anytime people said, 师父说, the teacher said, you had to add to it, when did he say it and to whom? Prove it. Because it's very easy to say, 师父说, and then behind you, you have this invisible big authority who is there to back you up. And that's not fair. If you can't tell us when 师父说 and to whom, 师父 taught expediently. He said different things to different people at different times, all of them equally true, but aimed at that audience. To pull these teachings out of context it's no longer true for every case, right? So I would be careful with this one, and you can let it go. Don't worry about your elders. Who doesn't get deaf and cataracts? So all old people are going to fall? Does that make sense? No, you don't. You use your own wisdom. Don't have to ask me. 你不用问我，你用自己的智慧。Okay, you get the point. 莫名其妙的规矩。定力恒施法师，如果念佛号不是很得力，可否有别的方法吗？譬如净土咒，或者密宗的咒，或者楞严咒、大悲咒、感恩法师阿弥陀佛，当然可以。Question is, if you recite the Buddha's name and it doesn't somehow catch, it doesn't 不得力, 不是很得力, it doesn't kind of get strength with you, can you use other methods? Of course you can. 八万四千法门，哪一个是第二呢？都是第一，看哪一个人。84,000 methods of practice. Which one is the best? Which one is number one? Whichever one you like. There are no number two Dharma methods. every one of those methods has someone for whom that is the best. Of course, if you don't like to recite the Buddha's name, you can, all of these methods you mentioned, you didn't mention Chan, right? Sitting in meditation. For many Westerners, that's number one. So there are a set number of Dharma practices that are called Jingdu Famen, Pure Land Dharma doors. Number one, do what the Buddha suggested. Nian Fo, recite the Buddha's name. But another Jingdu Famen that takes you to the Pure Land is Namo Ami Dopo Ye, Doto Chedo Ye, Dodi Eto Ami Lidu Papi, the Wang Sheng Zhou. Another one that takes you there is Da Bei Zhou. Another one that takes you there is Mi Tuo Jing, reciting the Restore Sutra. And clearly, if you recall the sutra passage from the Avatamsaka is Pu Xian Pu Sa Shi Da Yuan Wang. If you can cultivate according to those, and those are practices we do every single day, it will take you to the Pure Land. We looked at Great Strength Bodhisattva's Nianfo Yuan Tong Zhang. He said, recite the name. Du she liu gen jing nian shang ji. Gather back your six senses, let your pure thoughts continue. Du sa mo di shi wei di yi. So yes, those are all considered Jingdu Famen. Okay, so absolutely, if you do not like to recite the Buddha's name, cultivate another method. Okay, and put your heart into it. Okay, does being, emulating compassion of bodhisattvas means we accept, give in, or not take corrective steps to teach someone who cheats, lie, and do wrong things to his parents? If you were not a Buddhist, how, if we didn't even think about Buddhism, how would you answer your own question? Let's use what we call common sense, 常识. Let's say you're a father of a child, and you say, oh, I want to be a bodhisattva. That means you are cheating, you are lying, you are doing wrong things to your parents. I will let you do it because I'm a bodhisattva. Does that make sense to you? Why do we stop using common sense when it comes to Buddhism? Absolutely wrong to think that somehow bodhisattvas means everything's okay. Have you looked at Guanyin Bodhisattva's image at City of 10,000 Buddhas? The big, tall Guanyin. Guanyin has 11 heads. Half of the heads are very scary. They have their eyes popping out. They have fangs coming out of their mouths. Their tongues are sticking out. They look really frightening. Why? Because they say Guanyin has to use all of the methods that Guanyin has, the 1,000 hands, the 42 hands, all of those methods divide into two. One are methods that gather in, the other are methods that subdue. Guanyin Bodhisattva, who is a Bodhisattva who teaches very well, Guanyin looks at living beings who are mean and mean-spirited and hard and tough and nasty. And Guanyin Bodhisattva scares those living beings into behaving. She uses bows and arrows and swords and vajra pestles and armor and eyes that shoot lightning down to subdue living beings, because why? They go away from their own hearts by being hard. However, there's an equal number of living beings who are timid, who have low self-esteem, who are anxious, who are nervous, who are shy. And Guanyin Bodhisattva uses she shou, gathering in methods. So she has lotus flowers, she has mirrors, she has Sweet Dew. She has beautiful blue lotuses, red lotuses, yellow lotuses, white lotuses. Guanyin Bodhisattva has methods that gather in living beings by enticing them and encouraging them and supporting them and strengthening them. So if she used a lotus flower on somebody who was being bad, that's not going to work. And if she uses a Vajra pestle on somebody who's shy, that's not going to work, right? Guanyin Bodhisattva uses all kinds of methods. She does not simply say, oh, you are cheating, you are lying, you are doing wrong things. That's okay, because I like you and I want you to like me, right? Absolutely not. Holding the precepts is fundamental to samadhi. Samadhi is fundamental to wisdom. If you cheat, you're hurting people. That's not compassionate. If you lie, you're breaking precepts. That's not compassionate to you or the person you lie to. If you're doing wrong things to your parents, you are fundamentally breaking the basis of virtue and your nature, filiality. How could that possibly be right? So again, just like the one above, you don't have to ask me. Use common sense. That we want to be we want to imitate bodhisattvas doesn't mean we leave common sense behind, okay? All right. Take a look here. 有时候日常做的功课，因为想看经听法，做功课会有间断，对修行会不会不好？因为之前看蒙参老法师说的，功课没不要间断。Okay, can I say to you, let's use common sense again? These questions somehow make religious practice so strange. Cultivation becomes this bizarre thing. It's for people. The Buddha Dharma is for people to use. It's to incorporate with our lives. How many people who have a family, who have a job, who raise kids, who are taking care of their parents, have time to do morning chanting every single day without a break? Very few. The question is, sometimes people say that if you're going to read sutras and do chanting, you have to do it every day without a break. If you take a break at some point, if your practice is not consistent, is this bad for you? She quotes the elder master Mengcan, who says, practice should be unbroken. The phrase that helps here is anjiao li, anjiao fen. You cultivate according to your strength, you cultivate according to your circumstances. That's how you cultivate. Guanyin Bodhisattva is not a cop. Guanyin Bodhisattva is not waiting to bust you if, because taking care of your aging parents, you had to go to the hospital, you couldn't do chanting. You had to go to the clinic, you had to go to the pharmacy and get your prescription filled, so you couldn't do evening chanting. Guanyin Bodhisattva understands. Now, there are people who say, in my life, my priority has become cultivation, so I really want to do nothing but that. You can leave home. That's why people do leave home, so that they can focus entirely. But if you are not a left-home person, that's one of the issues of cultivating at home, is you have to also be a spouse, partner, father, caregiver, employee, boss, friend. So, of course, just try your best. And the bodhisattvas are people who cultivated great compassion and made great vows. They made the Bodhi resolve. So that's the difference. But they came from people. So cultivation has to fit in your life. So I get everybody here is talking about somehow punishment will happen. Bad things will happen if you cultivate wrong. That's just, the spirit of that is really scary to me. I don't get that at all. So, okay, we're out of time already, but I'm going to save the chat. right there. And tomorrow's our last night. I'll see if we can't get to these questions a little sooner and answer your questions. But do please, I hope folks are listening to my consistent point. Avoid 莫名其妙的规矩, these bizarre rules that, and how do you know that it's a 莫名其妙的规矩? If you hear punishment coming, if you hear spiritual violence, you will suffer if you do this wrong. When you hear that, understand that's not Buddhism. That's people going wrong with religion. That's called bad religion, right? I didn't hear that from Master Hua. Okay. It's almost 8 o'clock. We're going to do the great transference in just a moment. And we can transfer the merit now. And please send out a wish. There are people around the world who are suffering and hurting. And if we are kind and generous, we can reduce their pain. All right, here we go. May every living being, our minds as one and radiant with light, share the fruits of peace with hearts of goodness, luminous and bright. If people hear and see, our hands and hearts can find giving unity. May our minds awake to great compassion, wisdom, and to joy. May kindness find reward. May all who sorrow leave their grief and pain. May this boundless light dispel the darkness of our endless night. Because our hearts are one, this world of pain turns into paradise. May all become compassionate and wise. May all become compassionate and wise. And time to bow. We'll bring the Buddha up on the screen here. And I'll ring the bell 3 times and you can all bow together. Second bow. And third bow. Bow in respect to the Venerable Master. That's going to do it for us for tonight. See you all tomorrow. Amitabha. Keep reciting. 嘿，等一等。
请翻开149页 ，page 149。弟子中等现世生死反复，最长生中轮回六道，苦不可言，尽于自是，得闻弥陀名号，本愿功德， 愿求愿往生，愿佛慈悲不胜，爱怜摄受，弟子中的恩不是佛身，相好光明，愿佛实现，令我得见即见观音世子，诸菩萨众必是铁中，清净庄严，光明妙相等，令我了了得见阿弥陀佛。南无阿弥陀佛，南无阿弥陀佛，南无阿弥陀佛，南无阿弥陀佛，南无阿弥陀佛，南无阿弥陀佛，南无阿弥陀佛，南无阿弥陀佛，南无阿弥陀佛，南无阿弥陀佛，南无阿弥陀佛，南无阿弥陀佛，南无阿弥陀佛，南无阿弥陀佛，南无阿弥陀佛，南无阿弥陀佛，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无大势至菩萨，南无大势至菩萨。
南无大势至菩萨，
南无大势至菩萨，南无大势至菩萨，南无大势至菩萨，南无大势至菩萨，南无大势至菩萨，南无大势至菩萨，南无大势至菩萨，南无清净大海中菩萨，南无清净大海中菩萨，南无清净大海中菩萨，南无清净大海中菩萨，南无清净大海中菩萨，南无清净大海中菩萨，南无清净大海中菩萨，南无清净大海中菩萨，南无清净大海中菩萨，南无清净大海中菩萨，南无清净大海中菩萨，南无清净大海中菩萨，南无清净大海中菩萨，南无清净大海中菩萨，南无清净大海中菩萨，南无清净大海中菩萨，南无清净大海中菩萨，南无清净大海中菩萨。南无清净大海中菩萨，南无清净大海中菩萨，南无清净大海中菩萨。愿我临终无障碍，阿弥陀佛愿相应，观音甘露萨无多世子金台安我住，一刹那中离无着，去生悲情到莲池，莲花开后见此尊，倾听法音可了了，闻一即无无生人，不为安养如所迫，善知方 众生，小八尘劳为佛事。我愿如是佛子子，毕竟当来得成就。一心定力，弘扬尽乐度，释迦如来千百亿化身，遍法界诸佛。一心定力，常寂光净土，阿弥陀如来清净妙法身，遍法界诸佛。南一心定力，十宝庄严度，阿弥陀如来为尘相海身，遍法界诸佛。一心定力，方便胜具度，阿弥陀如来解脱相延伸，遍法界诸佛。一心定力，西方安乐度，阿弥陀如来得成根结身，遍法界诸佛。一心定力，西方安乐度，阿弥陀如来十方化往生，遍法界诸佛。一心定力，西方安乐度，教恒离三境，即一正宣扬，遍法界真法。一心定力，西方安乐度，观世音菩萨万亿之金身，遍法界菩萨摩诃萨。一心定力，西方安乐度，大势至菩萨无边光智身，遍法界菩萨摩诃萨。一心定力，西方安乐度，清净大海中，满分而延伸，遍法界生中。南无西方极乐世界，大慈大悲大愿大力，天引导师阿弥陀佛。 南无西方极乐世界大慈大悲大愿大力接引导师阿弥陀佛。南无西方极乐世界大慈大悲大愿大力接引导师阿弥陀佛。南无西方极乐世界万亿之精神观世音菩萨摩诃萨。南无西方极乐世界万亿之精神观世音菩萨摩诃萨。南无西方极乐世界万亿之精神观世音菩萨摩诃萨。南无西方极乐世界无边光之身大势至菩萨摩诃萨。南无西方极乐世界无边光之身大势至菩萨摩诃萨。南无西方极乐世界无边光之身大势至菩萨摩诃萨。南无西方极乐世界满分而言身清净大海中菩萨摩诃萨。南无西方极乐世界满分而言身清净大海中菩萨摩诃萨。南无西方极乐世界满分而言身清净大海中菩萨摩诃萨。皈依佛当愿众生体解大道发无上心。 皈依法当愿众生深入经藏，智慧如海。皈依僧当愿众生同理大众，一切无碍。很难慎重。个人代为父母师长，激励结怨亲，礼薄善拜。现在者增福延寿，过去者求生净土。阿弥陀佛。求生净土，阿弥陀佛。求生净土，阿弥陀佛。顶礼老和尚，是人一国民一岁间如烧水鱼啊，爱怎有了爱大众啊，爱大 佛，南无阿弥陀佛，南无阿弥陀佛。